Well, finally, Theresa May is leaving as Prime Minister of Britain. Let there be no period of mourning. She has undoubtedly been one of the worst Prime Ministers in British political history. The machinations around Brexit has brought that once upon a time great country to its knees. Remember that Brexit was originally driven by xenophobia and racism and hatred towards immigrants and refugees, over which Theresa May happily presided. Child poverty at the moment in the United Kingdom is worse than it's been in 30 years. Housing is in a terrible crisis. Do you remember the Grenfell tragedy when over 80 people died in that terrible high-rise fire? That was under the stewardship of Theresa May. And there was something called the Windrush scandal, which confounded Britain, where Commonwealth citizens resident in Britain were threatened with deportation. They lost their medical care. It was all illegitimate. It was all illegal. The Prime Minister had to apologize. There are no redeeming features to Theresa May's prime ministership. And on foreign policy, she sold arms to Turkey. She supported Saudi Arabia throughout the scorched earth policy against Yemen. Boy, what an abysmal tenure. That once great country, as it's called, you know, from the Magna Carta through to the Great Reform Bill, which ushered in democracy, to the voice of Winston Churchill, even the evil period of colonialism, all of that has been left in a shell of political rubble. And what is she concretely leaving behind? A fratricidal leadership race to succeed her within the Conservative Party. The leading candidate is Boris Johnson, who is an absolute doppelganger for Donald Trump. They're two putrid peas in a pod. And on the British Labour Party side, Jeremy Corbyn, the leader. Well, if Theresa May is the incarnation of ineptitude, Jeremy Corbyn is the incarnation of ambiguity. He doesn't know where he stands on anything, Brexit included. And as a result of the failure of political leadership in both parties, we have the rise of the extreme right wing. They're now calling themselves the Brexit Party, headed by a crypto-fascist. When I think of it, why should I use crypto? Headed by a fascist named Nigel Farage. And in the European elections of this last week, the results of which are forthcoming, his party will undoubtedly receive the highest popular vote from the British electorate, and the Conservatives will reduce to single digits, and the British Labour Party not much better. What's most extraordinary about all of this is that Britain still remains one of the great powers in the world, even though it is a shell of its former self. It is a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, exercising a veto over international issues, even though there's no political infrastructure to judge what those issues are. And countries that want to be on the Security Council, Japan, Germany, India, Brazil, South Africa, can't get a permanent place because Britain exercises a veto. We're in a position of what is called a coalition of lunacy between the United States and the United Kingdom. I don't pinch myself anymore to believe what's going on. It is now, if I may use the phrase of the day, the new normal. That was last week. I'm Stephen Lewis.